Hello everyone, nice to see you. This is a very special video because it's about Easter. It's all about Easter, and we're going to learn some stuff about Easter. I'm going to read a story to you, and then you're going to do some activities with it. So let's begin real quickly. First of all, I want to make sure that you do understand what Easter means, right? So it's a very special celebration. This week we celebrate Easter, and we do different activities around the world to celebrate. One very famous activity we do is egg hunt. So you go around looking for chocolate eggs that are hidden in different places, inside your houses or in the garden. So it's very fun. Or egg race is also a very fun activity that we do. It means that you go with a spoon and you put your egg over the spoon and you start running, and the first one to get there wins. Very similar to egg race, but rolling the egg on the floor. So you can help yourself with a spoon and you start rolling the egg until you get to the end. Very fun as well. You should try it. Egg coloring. So in different parts of the world, they take the eggs and they start painting them or designing over them or coloring them. These are tainted eggs, beautiful, and there are many ways of doing this, and it's beautiful. And also eating, very important. We don't eat any sort of things, especially on Sundays. In England, they try to eat fish, white meat. See, just as in Chile. I think in Chile we do the same thing. So which of these activities are similar to Chilean activities, and which ones do you consider are a bit different? Which ones would you like to try on Sunday or on Saturday? Well, the story. We're going to read a story called The Tale of Peter Rabbit. It's a very famous tale. It's a very famous story. We're going to go through the characters so I make sure that you understand the story. Good. This is Peter Rabbit, very famous bunny, and the main characteristic is that he's very naughty, and he's always wearing a blue jacket. Blue jacket, can you see it? This is Mr. McGregor. Mr. McGregor is very mean, and he's the owner of the garden and the keeper of the garden, and he's always angry. This is Mrs. Rabbit. She is very wise and intelligent, and you need to listen to her. These are Peter's sisters. So this is Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail, the sisters of Peter. And important things that you need to bear in mind. What's a fir tree and a root? Well, this family, this bunny family, live between the roots of a tree, a fir tree. That's a fir tree, and these are the roots. See? Sand inside their houses, inside the trees. There's lots of sand, so it's very soft and nice to stay in. A gate. That's a gate. Very important. A gate of a garden. The garden. This is Mr. McGregor's garden. Big garden. Lots of places to hide in, and you can see lots of vegetables to eat inside as well. A tool shed. Tool shed. There. A tool shed is a place where you hide your tools, where you keep your tools, right? And there are many houses that have these places. Not many, not all of them. In this story, you're going to listen and learn about a special tool shed. And that's it. So the story. Let's go right away to our story. I'm going to read the story to you real quickly, and then you're going to work on something. So here we go. Let's see. The Tale of Peter Rabbit by Beatrix Potter. Once upon a time, there were 4 little rabbits, and their names were Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. They lived with their mother in a sandbank underneath the root of a big fir tree. Do you see? So the roots under the roots of the tree, right? "Now, my dears," said old Mrs. Rabbit in the morning, "you may go into the fields or down the lane, but don't go into Mr. McGregor's garden. Very important. Never go to Mr. McGregor's garden. Your father had an accident there. He was put in a pie by Mrs. McGregor, so the wife of Mr. McGregor cooked him. Now run along and don't get into mischief. I'm going out." So she left. Then old Mrs. Rabbit took a basket and an umbrella and went through the woods to the baker's. She bought a loaf of brown bread and 5 currant buns. Yeah. Flopsy, Mopsy and Cottontail, who were good little bunnies, went down the lane to gather blackberries. But Peter, who was very naughty, ran straight away to Mr. McGregor's garden. My goodness, exactly what he shouldn't do. And squeezed under the gate. He dared to squeeze under the gate. First he ate some lettuce and some French beans, and then he ate some radishes. Bad bunny. And then, feeling rather sick because he had eaten too much, he went to look for some parsley. But round the end of a cucumber frame, whom should he meet but Mr. McGregor? Mr. McGregor was on his hands and knees, planting out young cabbages, but he jumped up and ran after Peter, waving a rake and calling out, "Stop! Thief!" Peter was most dreadfully frightened. He rushed all over the garden, for he had gotten the way back to the gate. He lost one of his shoes among the cabbages. See, one of his shoes was lost. And the other shoe among the potatoes. So no shoes at all. One on the cabbages, the other one on the potatoes. After losing them, he ran on 4 legs and went faster. So that I think he might have got away altogether if he had not unfortunately run into a crossberry net and got, going back, and got caught by the large buttons on his jacket. The buttons on his jacket. It was a blue jacket with brass buttons, quite new. So he got stuck, he couldn't move, right? Poor Peter. Mr. McGregor came up with a sieve which he intended to pop upon the top of Peter, but Peter wrinkled out just in time, leaving his jacket behind him, and he just ran away. And rushed into the tool shed and jumped into a can. It would have been a beautiful thing to hide in if he had not had so much water in it. It was full of water. Mr. McGregor was quite sure that Peter was somewhere in the tool shed, perhaps hidden underneath the flower pot. He began to turn over carefully, looking up under each. Presently Peter sneezed. Choo! Mr. McGregor was after him in no time. And tried to put his foot upon Peter, who jumped out of a window, upsetting 3 plants. The window was too small for Mr. McGregor, and he was tired of running after Peter, and he went back to work. Peter sat down to rest. He was out of breath and trembling with fright, and he had not the least idea which way to go. Also, he was very damp with sitting in the can. Damp, full of water, wet. After a time, he began to wander about, going lippity-lippity, not very fast, and looking all around. He found a door in a wall, but it was locked. He couldn't open it, and where... Oh, sorry. And there was no room for a fat little rabbit to squeeze underneath, so he couldn't go down. And old Mouse was running in and out over the stone doorstep, carrying peas and beans to her family in the wood. Peter asked her the way to get to the gate, but she had such large pea in her mouth that he couldn't answer. She only shook her head at him. Peter began to cry. Then he tried to find his way straight across the garden, but he became more and more puzzled. Presently, he came to a pond where Mr. McGregor filled his water cans. A white cat was staring at some goldfish. She sat very, very still, but now and then the tip of her tail twitched as if it were alive. Peter thought it best to go away without speaking to her. He had heard about cats before. He went back towards the tool shed, but suddenly, quite close to him, he heard the noise of a hose. Scritch, scratch, scritch, scratch. Peter scattered underneath the bushes and started looking. But presently, as nothing happened, he came out and climbed upon the wheelbarrow and peeped over. The first thing he saw was Mr. McGregor oiling onions. His back was turned towards Peter, and beyond him was the gate, the famous gate. Peter got down very quietly off the wheelbarrow and started running as fast as he could along a straight walk behind some blackcurrant bushes. Mr. McGregor caught sight of him at the corner, but Peter did not care. He slipped underneath the gate and was safe at last in the woods outside of the garden. Mr. McGregor hung up the little jacket and the shoes for a scarecrow to frighten the blackbirds. Peter saw it and couldn't return. Peter never stopped running or looked behind him till he got home to the big fir tree. He was so tired that he flopped down upon the nice soft sand on the floor of a rabbit hole and shut his eyes. His mother was busy cooking. She wondered what he had done with his clothes. It was the second time the little jacket and pair of shoes that Peter had lost in a fortnight. I am sorry to say that Peter was not very well during the evening. His mother put him to bed and made some chamomile tea, and she gave a dose of it to Peter. 1 tablespoonful to be taken at bedtime. But Flopsy, Mopsy and Cottontail have bread and milk and blackberries for supper. So that's the end of the story. Great. And I gave you worksheets with some cartoons on it that tell you part of the story. Yes? Where is it? There. So I have it here. This is mine. The idea is that you can cut this into little pieces and stick them into stones. Yes? So you can use them later to create your own puzzles of the story. So I cut some and I've stuck them on stones like this. I stick them on the stone, and then you will have many different stones with different parts of the story, and then you will try to put them in order, and that's the idea. You can also decorate eggs if you want to. I chose stones because it's easier and there are lots, but you can do your own with eggs if you want to. If you can't print them, you can draw your own as well. Okay, that would be great as well. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the story, and that's it. Have a beautiful Easter week and Easter weekend, and try to incorporate some of the games that I taught you, the egg race or the egg hunting or the egg rolling. It's also fun. And that's it. See you in the next video. Bye bye.